Plot twist, I'm hosting tonight.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host, Sho, and joining me tonight, we have Alex Senpai.
Guys, just get it over with. Kill me now, please. Just kill me now.
I noticed that was your Discord profile message for the last 5 hours.
For the last 5 hours, that was my status message, and you'll find out soon enough why it was.
And I knew exactly what you were doing when that was your Discord message. And also with joining us is the poser extraordinaire, Nitai.
Hi.
Oh my god, the energy in this room, I can just feel it. Let's get ready to spill that
Listen,
tea.
after the last episode, I have no expectations of this one.
Hold on.
I'm so sorry, I broke you down.
Yeah, we just literally kicked him.
Yeah,
we kicked him like Levi kicking Aaron,
you.
Really is what we did.
Wait, that implies that I enjoyed it in a masochistic way, which I didn't at all.
I think there's a little leeway to say maybe you did. But anyway, before we actually start, I hate to take this over from you. I do want to say two things. Number one, happy birthday, Natai. Thank you for joining us on your birthday to do this.
Such a dedicated weeb. We appreciate everything you do.
And congratulations on recently passing your CCNA exam.
Whoop whoop, I have a life again.
Yep.
Wee. Thank you. I'm genuinely excited. Don't worry, I am excited.
That's great. So
wow.
So today we're going to be spilling the tea on Titan for the second time. This time we're going to be spilling it for episodes 14 to 25 of season 1. So we begin this lovely cour with the night before the counter dash offense arc. Because Alex wants a hyphen in there because he's
needs a hyphen. Fuck all of you.
Here we go.
So we left off with the Trost arc finishing up, and now in this new cour we start off with the news that there is a person that can change into a Titan, spreading across all of humanity, and we see that this idea has a lot of effects on society in various aspects. And I thought that was really good world building, the way how they cut to all the different like religious stuff, the gossip, and like the political factions fighting over him, and how this has an effect on the world in all these different ways. Mm-hmm. I really appreciated how that was carving the world for us.
Yeah, it was like a good. That whole like section was a good excuse to like get to know more of like the important people in that, at least not only in the army but outside of it. Which is
I wouldn't say necessarily important people, important factions within society.
Yeah, sure. But also it sort of like plants seeds for like whatever could come next in case like the plot wants to like explore more of the people in these factions, you know?
Well, and it sets up that each faction kind of views this a little differently.
Yeah.
And it kind of sets up this possibility because there already seems to be some underlying distrust of the government at some fundamental level. So it's almost setting up like there's about to be a civil war of some sort.
Oh, definitely. Because this type of information is dangerous and they're already fighting over it.
Yeah.
Honestly, when like before even seeing the trial that occurred, which basically was an amalgamation of all of the effects that this kind of idea had on like the priest there and like the different political factions and all the different rumors and everything were coming together in this trial. Like even before all of that, I thought, you know, this kind of information, this kind of paradigm changing idea that, you know, like everyone believed there were humans and Titans and now the line is blurred. This kind of idea is something that could cause, you know, civil unrest, could cause panic, mass hysteria. So that being reflected actually in the story was very realistic. Like, I like how the author is taking very seriously what would happen in this hypothetical civilization, and it seems almost kind of like a social experiment where, you know, you introduce this radical idea and you see how it affects the populace. And I do appreciate all the nuance in all the different ways that it shows how it's affecting the population, which goes back to my simulation theory that this is a simulation.
It's all in a dome, man. It's all in your head.
I know you were not happy with the trial, Alex.
No, I wasn't. I mean, for all this, what I've said and what we've said with like leading to world building, which is kind of true. Then they also follow this up with what can only be described as a show trial that only exists to pad out a runtime, which could have been done they could have done the entire trial in like 5 minutes of runtime. I mean, that's all it would have taken, and the whole thing lasts an entire episode, and it's like, I just don't care about it. And I'll say it culminates with like Levi beating the shit out of Aaron in front of everybody. That's the entire reason this whole like trial thing exists, was to have that.
Don't lie though,
scene.
they went ham with the animation on that part.
Oh, they did. To Wit's credit, they did a really good job animating it. But the entire trial exists solely for that one scene, which you could have done in 5 minutes. And also, that scene only exists to fuel Fujoshi. I'm sorry, but it does.
But we just
I
said that
don't
it was.
disagree with you.
Yeah, likewise. It's like, again, it just like another way to explore more of the faction in this society. It's like that's another purpose of that scene, you know.
I don't see it, but sure. I see it as a way to give people ideas for doujinshi.
I mean, why not both?
I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. It could be both at the same time, but I'm going to say it's like 90-10. A 90-10 split.
I would love a political world-building hentai doujinshi.
Watch interspecies reviewers.
I think that is half of what I'm looking for. But okay. So after the trial, they go to the old Survey Corps headquarters to like clean up and I guess prepare for the counter event.
Which is where like 80% of the season 1 memes for Attack on Titan come from.
Oh my god.
Those are some good memes though.
Oh no, we're not doing that. One part of that little section of the arc that I found interesting was that when Aaron was explaining to the Levi squad how he uses his powers, he kind of questions himself. How do I know how I use these powers? Like, no one told me, but I just know how to do it.
What is a man?
So,
God damn it.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, this show is full of unexplained
you got
things.
that right.
And this is one of them. I don't know how Aaron knows exactly how he uses powers, but hopefully that gets explained. But who knows? Also, in that conversation, when they were talking about Hanji's experiments, Hanji's like, we realize that the Titans' bodies are lighter than they should be, weight-wise, which leads me to think that they are A, robots, B, aliens, or C, dinosaurs.
Oh, you forgot. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Option.
What about like a hologram?
How would that work?
How would any of the rest of it work?
Are you saying that Hatsune Miku is a Titan shifter?
Yes.
I mean,
Confirmed.
You're probably right.
Also, I would like to say that line kind of brings up, I guess you might call it a plot hole or an inconsistency. If they're truly like inordinately light as it's claimed to be, why do they make so much noise when they run? They shouldn't be that heavy if they're that light.
I mean, they might be lighter than they seem, but that doesn't make them light, like, period. They're still big bodies, you know.
You literally see Hanji
They're
lift
thick
the Titan's
boys,
arm
dude.
by
You've
herself.
seen a thick boy run, probably.
I don't know. You just
At that
literally
size.
see a diminutive female human being lift a Titan's arm by herself.
When?
Your point is valid. It may also be that the arm she was lifting was in the process of decomposing.
Possibly.
Because the Titan was dying. But, I mean, that's a valid complaint, I guess. So, as the counteroffense arc comes to a close, we see that Hanji is dealing with these captured titans and continuing her experiments, and then they get assassinated, which is basically the inciting incident for basically this entire
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
this entire cour, I guess. I really like how they formatted this because
wait, is it sorry to cut you off, but is it really
I'm
because
about to explain why I would say that.
To be continued.
Because they don't say this outright in the anime, but it's implied by just the actions that have happened. So someone killing captured titans would imply that someone is working with the titans, which means that someone who's working with the titans is in the military, which means that that person is probably a titan shifter. So at the point that the captured titans get assassinated, we have all the evidence to know that there's a titan shifter in the military. But these things don't get told to the viewer until much later.
Okay. No, I was confused with something else. Never mind. Makes sense. I was thinking it was something else.
I really like that is like this whole series of arcs up to episode 25. They don't tell the viewer exactly what's going on, but you can still piece it together. Yeah. And I really like how they did that.
And it feels like a continuing story, not like separate arcs that are loosely connected to each other because, starting point, end point, and then like they sort of flow into each other pretty well to the most part.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like Monster of the Week. It's like Monster of the
Titan of the Week.
It is technically Monster of the Week,
which is I mean, it kind of is because you have Erwin doing that little creep up to Eren, like, who's the real enemy here? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry to ask something so creepy.
That's been a huge meme. What did you think of that question, Alex? Did you have any?
I'm like, is he a child rapist or something? What the fuck is happening here?
So, what that scene is supposed to mean is that, like, at this early point, we are supposed to be told as viewers that Erwin knows that there's a Titan shifter at the very beginning.
Well, I don't know if we're supposed, as the audience, supposed to know that. We're supposed to know that Erwin knows something is up.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening.
Erwin is like looking.
I believe that
5 steps ahead. He's not.
I believe that. Yeah, this show is written such that once you have all the information and look back, at this point, him saying that line is supposed to be a signifier that he knows.
Yeah, but at the time he actually says it, the audience doesn't really understand that. I mean, it kind of
like
which is why he says that, like, I'm sorry to ask something so weird. It's because, like, even to the audience, it's supposed to come off as like a really weird thing to ask.
Yep.
It's supposed to be vague, but it comes in with the whole thing I was talking about, how this whole arc, they don't really tell you exactly what's going on, but they kind of just like subtly like have it there, but don't really like explicitly talk about it. So
until
like,
after
this is one
the fact.
of those things.
And also it works because for the most part, the audience still expects it to be, okay, humans versus titans, and pretty much just have this black and white, like you have this pretty clear line between the two sides and that's it. And now slowly the show's like, oh, but what about there's like someone inside the army that is like helping the titans and whatever is up with that.
Just like every zombie movie ever.
Wait, what?
The real enemy is man's cruelty towards man.
No, that's not what I meant. What I meant is like, okay, so
that's what the story is digressing into, though.
Is it though?
Yes.
No, I mean, obviously people are shit, but it's also trying to say, okay, maybe there's like something on the other side as well, because okay, there's someone in the army itself that is supporting, like, is helping pretty much like the titans in terms of like, destroying humanity.
Maybe.
That's the entire point of this arc, to show that it's
not
a clear line. You're saying sure, but I'm right.
I mean, I would say that the line isn't necessarily clear, but There is a line.
Yeah, there. Ah.
Oh, what a lovely way to start your birthday.
Yeah. I need
Oh
whiskey.
no, I lost my train of thought. No. Okay, well we could just move on, I guess, to the next arc, which is the 57th Expedition Beyond the Walls. And I know you have a lot of feelings about this arc, Alex.
Yeah, I do,
Go ahead,
because when I originally watched this back in 2013, 2013. This is the point where I dropped it. I dropped it at episode 22. So that's actually right
So close
before.
to
That's
the
actually
end.
right after this ends. But this is what made, because it's so boring and it's so obviously padded for runtime.
I find that so funny that you say that, because out of all the arcs that have currently I've watched, like not like the ones in season 1 that like I'm talking about like right now. Ugh, whatever, you get what I'm saying.
You're not talking about of all of them for season 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, just of season 1, this arc is the one that had the most of my attention, that I felt had the most plot in it, that I felt was the most like interesting. I don't know how you found this padded.
I can
feel
tell you
like-
because the show itself actually proves that it's padded, because this arc is, I believe, 6 or 7 episodes long. I believe somewhere around it's either 6 or 7 episodes long. So after the first episode of this arc, through the rest of it, each episode starts with a recap of what happened before, and it keeps getting
my
longer
God.
and longer and
Oh
longer, to the
my
point where
God.
like 6 or 7 episodes in, actual new content doesn't start until 5 or 6 minutes into the
Just
runtime of the
fucking
episode.
skip the recap.
I agree. Okay. But I think that's a problem with the
That's a problem with the
entire
composition of the
core,
anime.
not just this arc, but like a lot, like, oh, those recaps were so long and so unnecessary.
Exactly.
But if you just skip them, then the actual new content I don't feel was padded.
But I'm saying it didn't need to be there. You didn't need to have those recaps in every single episode and recapping
Just
the
skip
same
them.
stuff. Like every single recap starts with fucking Erwin going onward advance as they go through the fucking gate.
Did
Do
you
we
actually
need to
watch-
see that
did you
every
actually watch
single
those
fucking
recaps?
time?
Yeah, why don't you just skip the recaps, dude?
I did after like the first 2 times I saw it, and I'm like, I just skipped all the way through the fucking OP.
Yeah, obviously.
Honey, I've skipped all. I haven't watched a single recap. I just skipped them all.
What are you on about?
My point is, it didn't
I
need
think-
7 episodes.
I
You
think
could have told
Alex
the
has a
exact same
problem.
story in 3.5 episodes.
Alex has a feeling is
Probably,
suffering from
but-
FOMO because he's hoping that maybe he's missing something in the recap. So he's like, no, I'm gonna watch every single recap in
Who
case
knows?
there's like a single
It's
line
just-
I'm missing.
I can't say that it's necessarily a problem with the story itself. I can say it's a definite problem with the composition of the anime specifically. It did not need that.
It is a problem. I wouldn't say it's a very important problem, because it's a very easy solution.
I mean, yes, that's not my biggest problem with it, though. I mean, it is a problem I have with it, but it's not the biggest problem.
So why don't we actually get into the details of the arc? So I just wanted to bring up what is introduced very early in the arc, which is the long-range scouting formation with like where you spread out the different horses and you have all these different colored smoke, not grenades, but
Flares.
smoke flare, quote unquote flares, but not really flares. I thought that was a really creative idea from the author, because I don't think that's ever been done before in real life. Because I feel like it's combining 2 different eras, the era of the horse and the era of the flare.
I believe something, I mean, not exactly similar to this, because obviously Titans aren't real, but something kind of similar to this was done during World War I during the Battle of the Bulge, specifically in getting to the battle. I know it's funny saying that out loud to someone who doesn't know anything about history. It's called the Battle of the Bulge for a reason.
Keep going.
Now,
Okay,
something similar to this
well-
was done where it's a formation that spread out on horseback trying to actually get to the battle, and they were signaling to each other using a form of a flare gun, whether
Oh, okay.
they saw enemy soldiers on the horizon.
Well, the more you know. It was very interesting to watch and be executed either way.
What, the bulge?
Motherfucker, that's what it's. I didn't name it that. You didn't
so
name
sorry.
it that. That's what historians name it. I didn't choose it.
I know. Just kidding. Keep going. Sorry.
So, I mean, the most important part of this arc, just ignoring the bulge, is that we get introduced to the female Titan, my bae, my boo, the girl with the biggest ass in the show.
I like how even the characters point out, like, that's the Titan. Follow that Titan with the nice ass.
I know, that was hilarious.
Obviously.
So if there weren't enough questions, this female Titan poses yet another question of who's she?
New Titan, who dis?
Bitch. Huh?
Oh my god, that should be the name of this episode.
New Titan, who dis?
Yeah. And she acts very strangely. Very, I guess,
like
much
Eren?
like an aberrant, I guess. Because, I mean, she goes up to Armin and she just looks at him and then she walks away.
Did you forget about that time she like spun around those poor soldiers and broke their entire bodies probably in the process?
Oh my god. That was so amazing. All of the animation regarding any of the fights that the female Titan is involved in
that was
is
fucking
so
great.
gorgeous. And I love the choreography of her fighting. It's just so...
Can I just say
nice.
there was one time during this I literally laughed out loud, both when I originally watched it and rewatching it now. And it's when I forget who it is. It's some fucking nobody character, where they're trying to fight her, and she grabs the thread of the movement gear and like stops him in midair, and then instead of like just throwing him away, she just takes the thread and starts swinging it around like a fucking yo-yo.
That was something.
Shit. That was definitely something that happened. Around it. It's so...
And there's a part of me that sees that and thinks, wow, that'd be a fun carnival ride, but I'd be dead by the end of it.
Oh my.
The more you know.
Well, yeah, I do like how she grabs the cords of the maneuver gear and just slams the servo cord down. Yeah. Like the way she fights
is great. Her entire introduction is great.
Yeah. I mean, her entire fighting style is very different from what we've seen and what we expect of the other Titans. She is the most like an actual human in a Titan's body because she acts like an actual human would act if they were like in full control of a Titan. Like she has the most deft, sophisticated movements of any Titan we've seen, and it's great to watch. It's very interesting. It honestly makes me want to root for her because she's just so good at what she does.
If only any other Titan in the show was given as much attention to detail to their animation, they wouldn't be so laughably disgusting to look at.
Isn't that part of the point, though?
I mean,
They're fucking Titans. What? Moving along.
So there's a lot of... I mean, there's a lot of mysteries in the show in general, but there's a lot of mysteries regarding the female Titan. Like, one, we don't know why she didn't kill Armin. Knowing the information that we know at the end of the season, maybe it was out of pity. Maybe it was something else. We don't know. Also, we know that the female Titan came into the formation from the right flank. And that is important because we figure out that every single person in the formation was told that Eren was on a different location. So we can assume... See, this wasn't told to us, the viewers, but like it wasn't explicitly told to us, but you can assume that the female Titan is someone who was informed that Eren was on the right flank. So, again, a lot... I really appreciate this, like, not in your face storytelling, and it's very like, these are the things that happen. You can piece it together if you want.
Right.
That's kind of true, but it's also a really bad idea.
Why?
Because it would never work. Like my suspension of
It's
disbelief.
working right now.
My suspension of disbelief like completely fell apart when they said that, because it's predicated on the idea that no single individual is going to talk to any other single individual that's part of this expedition, and that would never happen.
I also thought the same thing, Alex, except that when they were preparing for the raid, they explicitly said that no one knows where Aaron's location is. So I assume that they were all told at the last minute.
That's the thing, though. Weren't they told? Yeah, exactly. At the last minute, some people were told he was in a certain location. Then other groups were told different
So I
information. Wasn't that the whole point?
This wasn't. Yeah, this
That's
wasn't
what
like.
I got out of it.
Yeah, this wasn't like explicitly told to us, but like I assumed it was told like right before they went off.
But you're assuming that we don't know.
You can infer it from them, though, because you could tell, like, some people thought he was in a certain section, and some people thought he was in a different section of the formation altogether. Like,
I just don't know if I can buy that. I really don't.
Why? That was like part of the plan.
Because part of what the second part started with was how fast the information can travel. I mean, if information can travel fast about Aaron being a Titan, surely information about where he's actually located in this formation amongst an even smaller group of people can travel even faster.
Yeah, but obviously no one was trying to hide it. No one really is trying to hide that he can like transform into a Titan. But the whole plan is for this like expedition is that no one's most people aren't supposed to know where he is. So, that's the main goal as far as we know. So of course no one would know. That's what everyone would
I just find it very difficult to believe that somehow that a sliver of that information wouldn't get out to 2 or 3 people and then it spread like wildfire really
honestly,
quickly.
I disagree.
I think the fact that they told us while they were training for the raid that they don't know where Aaron is supposed to let us know that they didn't know this beforehand, because there was no time for it to get out. But you make a valid point, because I also thought the same thing.
Also, you forget that Aaron is with Levi's squad, which are sort of disconnected from the rest of the group at that point. So he hasn't even seen the rest of like his, like the people he's been training with for that time.
I just don't buy it. If there's corruption in one part of the military, certainly there's corruption in others.
So another, I think one of the last mysteries I wanted to talk about with the female Titan is that there was this scene where the Titan was near Armin, and Armin was saying, "Oh, you killed Aaron," and then the female Titan stopped where she was, and she's like, "Fuck, I killed Aaron. Now I have to go back and go look at the corpses." And then what happens?
Rainer
She swats Reiner away, and then she goes directly to where Aaron was located. So we don't know how the female Titan got that information, and we still don't know at the end of the season. So that's another thing I would like to get clarified one day.
Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows?
Maybe there were 3 or 4 Titans just like her that would just happen to be around telling her secrets.
Maybe Titan shifters can turn into trees, and she was talking to the trees.
Maybe
she's
she's the Lorax. Maybe she is the Lorax. She speaks for the fucking trees.
I really want Alex Jones on this podcast. I think he can add a lot of like good information for this whole discussion. We can get to the bottom of this.
Fucking globalists.
So as we go through this arc, we get to the point where Aaron's running from the female Titan in the forest on his horse. I remember that scene when I was watching it airing. I really didn't understand what the big deal was. I thought it was so like hyper tense.
Melodramatic.
Like, what's the big deal?
Melodramatic,
yeah.
Exactly.
I'm just like, Levi's like, I don't know what to do. You either do this or this. Choose. And then Aaron's like, I don't know what to do.
What do I do?
Like that's actually one of my biggest pet peeves with this entire arc. Well, not the entire arc. From every point of the arc when they go into the forest afterwards, is everything just turns into this like fucking telenovela-esque melodrama. And I'm like, what the fuck, guys? Like, you're supposed to be soldiers. Fucking act like it. Jesus Christ.
Yo, okay, they're like supposed to be soldiers, but like when they were telling us how many kills they had, like this, like the best fucking elite squad person has 7 Titan kills.
Yeah.
What?
And then like, but the whole thing with like,
but like, okay, they're the best of the best, but they're still not that great.
I mean, maybe we don't have any other metrics to compare it to, do we?
My metric is looking at how many Titans exist.
Okay, well, yeah.
And how many Titans have been coming numbers? At the walls.
It's nice you have such a high
you've killed
opinion
7 and you're the best.
But no, like,
especially considering last arc, all of them were just swatted away like flies.
Yeah, so, really.
You know.
But no, like the whole thing with the melodrama. Back to that, like. A great example of that is while they're running away, while like Squad Levi is running away from the female Titan, right? I forget, was it Petra who says, "Do you not have faith in us?" It's like, bitch, faith ain't gonna get you away from this Titan. Jesus Christ, speed up.
I actually really liked how they did the flashback for that one exact line, like, "Do you have faith in us?" I thought that was like really good for character building.
I didn't. I thought it was just melodramatic bullshit.
Oh, really? I really liked that.
I thought so much less of Squad Levi after they all started spouting that bullshit. They acted like fucking artists, not soldiers.
Oh, like in the flashback?
Yeah.
Or... Oh. I mean, I think they're supposed to look like idiots, but then you're supposed to be like, oh, you know, they have experience with this kind of thing. If they don't make rash decisions, then they're going to die. So that's the sort of like life they live.
There's a difference between not making a rash decision and like thinking things through and just being naively hopeful that everything's going to work out because you're part of Squad Levi and everyone tells you you're so fucking great.
I think that's
That's not what they really pointed to, though.
I think that's kind of one of the main themes of the show is blindly following your superiors, because that's like give your hearts is basically die for the orders you've been giving and don't question it.
Die for the cause.
Yeah, so I think that's like, I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing or bad thing. I just think that that's what they're trying to
Does that make you a redeemable character, though, if you blindly do that all the time?
What do you mean all the time? Petra is like, has 3 lines.
But she clearly has faith in Levi.
Yes.
Actually, I would say that everyone in Levi's squad has faith in Levi. That's why they follow him so blindly.
That's pretty obvious.
But like,
yeah,
they kind of frame it like, especially when they all end up fucking dead, that it's supposed to be some kind of a noble sacrifice, and you're, as an audience member, you're supposed to feel like, oh my gosh, Aaron, you got to do something about it, and I felt nothing.
Was it supposed to be a noble sacrifice? I feel like it was a wasted sacrifice.
I mean, it was, but I feel like with the OST that's playing at the time when they all die and like Aaron's reaction to it, you're supposed to think, oh my god, it's a noble sacrifice so Aaron can become the Titan and blah, blah,
I don't know
blah,
if
blah,
it's
blah.
noble,
no, that's
just
that's
desperate.
100% not true.
Yeah.
Because Aaron regretted it. He's like, no, I shouldn't have done it. I made a mistake.
Maybe. That also brings me to another issue that I have with this entire arc. So this is actually before the whole forest thing, and I think it's done as a sort of a flashback where they throw Aaron in the well, and they tell him to become a Titan, and he tries to do it the same way he's done it before, and he can't do it. And then he reaches for a spoon, and I guess his hand hurts or something, and he becomes like a partial Titan. That's bullshit. Like, that's turning something that may actually be a plot point into like a Deus Ex Machina.
Wait, what do you mean?
So he has this ability, right, to turn into a Titan. And up until that point, it was assumed that he could do it whenever he caused himself some kind of a pain. Like, that's why he bites into his thumb. But now they're putting some kind of caveat to it, so he has to have a specific goal in mind. I mean, fuck off.
But I mean,
that's what I did even before, though.
But it doesn't
Don't
matter.
you remember?
Like,
Yes, it does.
No,
Don't you
because
remember when he
then
protected Mikasa and Armin?
No, it means that Aaron's ability can be turned on and off at the author's whim. It means that it's not actually
No,
a
it
narrative
means he
device
needs to have
much as it is
intent
in
before
Deus Ex Machina.
No, it means he needs to have intent in order to activate the power. That's it. It makes total sense.
It doesn't. No, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yes, it does, because I'm jumping ahead, but later in the arc when he's like trying to activate it and it doesn't work, it's basically because he doesn't have the intent or resolve to actually believe in what he's doing.
Because
That's
it's
the whole
because it's the author trying to build artificial tension.
No, Alex. God damn it. Don't deflect.
I think having that caveat to this ability completely diminishes Aaron's like usefulness as a character.
I don't know if it diminishes his usefulness, but I do agree in some way that the existence of this caveat will feels like a crutch for the author to make like artificial tension. But I don't think it's like out of nowhere to introduce it, because it is consistent with what we've already seen, and we know that we don't know everything about Titans, so it's fine to introduce something new. But I do agree that it is a bit artificial.
I mean, I don't mind the fact that there may be a crutch to how he could use this power, but I'm saying that the specific instance of you have to have a specific goal in mind, that's what I have a problem with. Like, that means that you could have it not work at a specific time where it could be very, very useful, and like 13 characters might not die, but it's not going to happen because, oh my gosh, he has certain feelings for one of them.
You know, I felt that way when I first watched this, but when I rewatched this, I can understand why he didn't transform at the end, in the raid on Stohess arc.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't.
It's
made it feel like so useless.
Maybe when you get to the later arcs, this will be more make sense, because I feel like his inability to transform in the Stohess arc is more of a reflection on Aaron's character as an immature person who can't take anything seriously.
Yeah.
Than
exactly.
I mean, I already believe
problem. That. Yes. I know you do that, but why it's relevant is that, like, well, anyways, I don't want to, but yes, sure. We'll leave it at that.
Don't jump ahead too far.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So let's rewind all the way back.
All the way back to where we were before.
To the forest.
To the forest where the female Titan was chasing Eren. And then he trusted his comrades by not transforming into a Titan, which I think is another theme about like trusting your comrades, which is kind of along the same lines of like sacrificing yourself, because sacrificing yourself is trusting your comrades because you like leave it to them to move on. I don't know how strong a theme that is, but I guess that's there.
Well, it's kind of reflected in that line that's repeated multiple times in this first season. Someone who can't sacrifice anything can't change anything.
I guess so, maybe. I interpreted that line as like, war is shitty and you're gonna have to do shitty things. But you can also interpret it like that. That's true. And yes, so they're running with the horses, and then they run into Erwin's trap because they trusted their Nakama, and their Nakama came through with the trap. And I just want to say that trap is fucking cool as hell.
It was all part of Erwin's secret plan.
Yeah. And I love being tied up on every limb.
It was his excuse for everyone to go, Sasuke Erwin-sama!
Exactly. So after that, Erwin basically blows his load, and we all know his plan that he wanted to root out the traitor in the Survey Corps. And then we have basically a series of fights between the female Titan and all these different people, which were all animated so well. And honestly, one of the reasons why I think that this arc for me was so great was that there was so many points where the Survey Corps turned the tables on the female Titan, and then the female Titan turned the tables on the Survey Corps, and it's a fucking roller coaster, and it's animated beautifully, and the fight is like so back and forth, and we have female Titan versus Petra, and then versus Aaron's Titan, and then versus Mikasa, and then versus Levi. Like, all these chained fights where one side wins, one side loses, one side recovers, they come back. Like, oh, it was such a complicated mess that I loved. But
yeah, this section of the arc is like really well done. I think because I remember like there's a lot of, mostly when people talk about season 1 and its flaws, a lot of people would turn and say, yeah, during the second half the pacing kind of goes to shit, which I don't know if I fully agree, but like I think what caused people to look at this specific arc as like the weakest part of the season is like because the beginning of it is like super slow and it throws a lot of information at you that at first when you watch it for the first time is probably not necessarily that interesting if we're completely honest, but the way it ramps up the tension near the end of this arc is just so well done. It, in my opinion, makes up for it. It's so good.
Doesn't that all depend on whether you as the viewer actually care about the characters?
This is true.
I don't.
Because that's my biggest issue with how Attack on Titan is written. Like, it has tension, it has like conniving and stuff behind the scenes, but all of it depends on you as an audience member giving a shit about at least some of the characters involved.
I don't think so, actually.
I
don't think so. I think
I can give you a good example of this, because you mentioned that a lot of people on their first viewing will say that this arc is one of the weakest arcs, or probably the weakest arc of the first season. And I can give you an analogy, which I could not give you when this anime first aired back in 2013. So I find that this arc, for me, is very analogous to the Casino Planet arc from Star Wars The Last Jedi, where it wastes an enormous amount of time. At the end of it, you don't really learn a whole lot new, and a lot of people die.
Who died in the Casino arc in The Last Jedi, dude?
When Attack on Titan originally aired in 2013, I didn't have this like analogy to give, but that's what I find it very analogous to. It's just a lot of fluff for very little payoff.
So Attack on Titan has a lot of build-up that slowly, forms
Unravels
into like a bigger overall story. And for me personally, I got a lot out of rewatching from the beginning and seeing that build-up start from point 1 and slowly increase. Whereas the first time I watched this, there's like so much shit that I didn't really pay attention to, because I didn't know the end game. I didn't know what we're building up to.
But it's also, it may be worth mentioning for you that when you originally watched this, you were a relatively new anime fan as well.
I've been watching for 2 years. I don't know, but I binged it, so I wouldn't really consider myself new. But anyways.
But I think when you're watching it for the first time, like the plot itself carries most of the show pretty well, because you're curious to see what comes next, because it's so good at throwing curveballs your way.
The first time it's like a hype train, and then the second time there's a lot of details that are woven in. But if you're not on the hype train and you're watching it for the first time, then I can see how this can drag a lot, because there's not much for you to latch onto, because you're not really connecting all the dots, because you don't have all the dots, because they're not giving you everything. So I can see where you're coming from, and maybe that doesn't work for you.
I think it's really bad writing. I think actually I don't think it's really bad. I think it's terrible writing.
I can understand why you'd say that, but we will see where we go.
Because I mean, you do see where I'm coming from. Where if you actually,
definitely do.
If you have to watch or read, in this case, the entirety of the story to understand something that happened in chapter 1, that is not good writing.
Yeah, but it kind of wants you to be curious by the information you lack at the beginning. That's the whole premise of mystery shows, that you don't know everything and you want to learn.
But you shouldn't have to read the entire story to understand something that happened in chapter 1. That's my whole point.
Why? Some stories are like dependent on that you don't know everything from the get-go.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you can't gradually introduce something. I'm saying that you can't have a story that you have to read to the entirety of it in through the end of the story, which in this case hasn't even ended yet, to even understand anything that happens in chapter 1.
But I don't agree, because even if you don't know the end game from the get-go, obviously you latch on to like the immediate conflict of, oh shit, like humanity's in danger because they got in the walls. Oh shit, like they finished the training but Titans from out of nowhere. Oh shit, they got out of the walls to like capture this Titan and now it's like rampaging about, and it's like the thing that keeps you going is like the immediate conflict that keeps popping up and up and up again and again and again. And then throughout all of these conflicts, you learn bit by bit about the story and the world and like how everything functions and comes together at a certain point. That's the idea behind a good story, is that you get these immediate conflicts, but at the same time, through like small details and like really cool nuances, you learn more and more and more and gather more information. And then you have even more questions and you want to keep going and find out the answers to those questions. That's the whole idea.
You're right, but again, as I mentioned before, all of this is predicated on you giving a shit about the characters that inhabit this world.
More like in general, just you caring about the story. Like I can see if you don't care about the story or the characters, then you won't really have the patience to see it come to fruition at the end. So I can see why you would say that is bad writing, but at the same time, you have to give like props to an author who can start from chapter 1 or episode 1 to like episode 60 and have a build up that is consistent into something that can actually explain everything that's happened for every single episode.
Well, I can't say that because I haven't seen anything past season 1, so
I mean,
that's why we're here.
So instead of speculating what will happen, let's talk about what actually happened. So the next arc is the last arc of the season. Actually, is the raid on Stohess arc, where we see Annie and oh god, what's her name? The other blonde lady. I'm not gonna pretend to remember her name. Those two people, and then there's a black-haired dude. And then they're all having their little...
I like how we're just describing people by their hair colors now.
Oh, it's Hitch. I remembered.
Oh,
not Snitch.
From the military police. For a second, I wasn't sure who you were talking about.
Anyways, super minor character. Regardless, the point is they had this like little mini story with the military police, showing that it's very corrupt. There's bribery. There's shirking off duties.
Which is something we've kind of seen before. Like, I won't say necessarily overtly, but it's been alluded to that the reason so many people want a military police posting is because it's an easy job and you can slack off.
And just in general, we've seen people take advantage of their power to just like help themselves and not help humanity in general, which I've complained about as unrealistic before. But between the last episode and this episode, I will say I've had a slightly change in opinion in that this whole class divide is real. I can see it as realistic in the situation if I had seen the build up from year 1 to year 100. But since I'm just put in year 100, I find it's hard to see it, but I can understand.
Yeah, you're kind of told this through exposition, not through actually seeing it. Like you're expected to understand that this has happened over several decades.
Yeah, so that's why I'm just a little. I find it a little hard to like swallow because I don't see the buildup. But
it's certainly it's plausible to believe that it's there, but it would have been nice to see it actually come to fruition naturally instead of being told like, "Hey, just believe this because I told you to."
Maybe one day we'll get some explanation. There's so many seasons to go through, Alex. Aren't you excited?
Yeah, I'm so excited. My pee is hard just thinking about it.
Oh god, too much information.
That the moment they announce JC Staff is doing the last season, you're gonna enjoy the shit out of it just despite us.
Yes.
So, at the end of that little corrupt military police like mini arc, Annie says this line, "I just want the weak who do get swept along with the flow to be considered human too," which I thought was a really poignant line because in the moment she's talking about the black-haired military police recruit who is weak because he's unable to stand up for against the people who were taking bribes, or not bribes, who were selling the equipment on the black market. But since we've seen the end of the episode, or the end of the season, we know that she was also talking about herself as weak, because to me this line is telling the viewers that she sees herself as weak. She regrets what she's done as the female Titan, spoilers, not really, who killed all these people, and she hates herself for it. And you wouldn't get that on the first watch because you don't know that she's a Titan at that point, but on the rewatch you can see by the way she says it that she's hating herself. So I really liked the way they did that too. There's so much that they sneak in that you're not supposed to figure out until you know everything, which, as Alex has said, can be really annoying if you don't know everything like Alex.
I don't know everything. I just know what I know.
Oh,
don't you pull that shit on me.
It's so funny. So yeah, getting to the meat of this arc, Armin asks Annie to escort Eren to some hideout somewhere, and I really, really, really like that there's a very clear camera shot of Annie putting on the ring.
Yeah, that's not obvious foreshadowing, is it?
But there's so many shows that pull it out of your ass. It's I had this, but if you rewind back, you can see that she put it on. So I'm really glad that they did that. There is foreshadowing, but I'm glad it's there because it makes the show more consistent. Because we wouldn't know what that ring is for until later on.
I mean, when she used it, you'd figure it out really quick.
Honestly, on the first watch...
No, there's no way you would know, it opens up to cut your finger.
I didn't even remember she put on a ring.
No.
On the first watch, I didn't pay attention at all.
No, you're right, Natai. You wouldn't know that until legit, right when it happened, when she pulled it out and scratched herself with the ring. But I'm saying that the zoom in on her finger and her putting the ring on the finger, that's going to come into play eventually.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't on my first watch. I didn't. I don't know what a ring would come in handy for. Anyways,
I don't know.
I like that. And then we get to to the actual scene of Eren, Armin, and Mikasa confronting Annie as the female Titan. Which on my previous watch was where I dropped this show, was the episode right before this. I originally dropped it on episode 22, and this happens in episode 23. Mm-hmm.
What did you think, finally seeing something new?
Yeah, I know. So yeah, everything from episode 23 onwards is completely new material to me. Much like a lot of the stuff that happens in the forest, I thought it was way overly dramatized.
I mean, the whole show is
Anime
everyone
is
being
pretty
scared out of their
overtly
shits.
dramatic, don't you think, though?
I don't know. And the more I see of Armin, the less I like him.
Oh, I really liked him watching this on the rewatch.
It's like they're trying to set him up as
Armin's
some kind of
actually.
autistic savant.
What the fuck?
How did you
he
get
knows
that?
everything just by looking at it
How?
one time. It's he looks at the maneuver gear and he knows exactly where it's been worn and how many asses it's touched, and oh my god. He's so smart.
That was a little much, I will say. That one part was a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I helped Marco with fix this. I know every single scratch and dent on it. I memorized it because I knew this moment would come where this exact information would be handy.
But there's like 100 other pieces of information that tell us that Annie is the Titan.
Oh, I know, but the fact that that was harped on just bugs me to no end. It's like, okay, Armin, yeah, okay, you might have a good memory, but even someone with the best memory is not going to memorize the scratches and dents on every single person's maneuver gear to know whose is whose. Fuck off.
Well,
Okay.
that was a bit bullshit. But how did you like Annie's laugh?
I mean,
Surreal. That was the best moment of the entire show.
channeling Gasai really good there.
Oh, yes, she's the original Gasai. You should watch Kakegurui. If you like Attack on Titan, you should watch Kakegurui.
How did we jump from
which has nothing to do with Attack on Titan.
I will say, there are only 2 characters in this show I give a shit about. Both of them are female, and both of them have really weird laughs. So,
wait, who's the other one?
Who's the other
Hanji.
one?
Oh my! It's debatable whether Hanji is female,
Okay,
but
whatever. Fuck
Wait,
off.
what?
well, she's like non-binary.
Whatever. Fuck off.
What are you? There are boobs there. Done.
Okay, this is quoted by Nitai.
Oh, goddamn.
Boobs equal female. You've clearly never seen a morbidly obese man before.
No. One just thing I'd like to say about this particular scene is Annie says that she's scared of the underground and she doesn't want to go in there, and she's clearly lying. She just doesn't want to like be trapped in there as a Titan. But the way she says those lines, she's very clearly actually scared. And I feel like the fear is because she's scared of like reflecting on the fact that she's murdered so many people because she hates herself. But that's just my interpretation. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what I saw.
I feel like if that were true, like if that was what she was most concerned about in the moment, she would have like had more of a breakdown. Like, it wouldn't have just been quiet introspection.
To me, also, the crazy laugh was her hating herself. She's like, I'm completely utter trash. I'm just going to laugh at myself because I'm a fucking idiot. And that was what that laugh was, although that was a very vague laugh. It's very well animated.
I had to say, like, I don't want to say it's vague. It's like batshit crazy, but not vague.
Well, I don't know what the intention of that laugh was supposed to be. Is it like, are you saying like she's rubbing it in their face?
I can tell you what I feel like, because I don't know, there could be like 13,000 different depths of bullshit by the time season 3 comes around. Like, we'll analyze this laugh 17 episodes from now.
Yes, queen.
Yeah, there'll be. I mean, Armin will say, but her laugh was like a pitch at 3 decibels higher. But no, the feeling that I get was like she knows it's wrong and she accepts it, but she's going to do it anyway because someone told her to.
That's definitely not. Because, okay, the thing that you just explained to me would mean that she's in a stable mindset. Because, like, I've accepted it, I'm going to do it. But that laugh was completely crazy. So I think she hasn't accepted shit all, and she's just like, I have nothing left to lose. I'm just gone crazy.
Pretty much.
I mean, she was definitely backed into a corner with what they set up. Well, not literally, but
she was ready with that ring, girl. Oh, speaking of which, the people hiding in the fucking everywhere around her, so fucking cool.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. And then they all died.
Did they actually?
I mean, she like transformed to like they all just.
I mean, isn't that just like that's how you could end like the narration of every single episode of Attack on Titan, and then they all died.
And then they all just.
LOL. Oh my god. Yes,
Oh,
descriptive
God.
audio. That's all you really need to write in that.
Well, what's the synopsis of the last episode? And then they all died.
I guess so. And then after that, there's like all these various scenes of Mikasa and various other Survey Corps fighting
lot of
the
shouting.
Titan.
A lot of shouting around.
Yeah, there's a lot of shouting in this arc. There's a lot of shouting.
I think they saved the best animation for this arc, because those shots of Mikasa like flying the fuck around, so gorgeous.
Also, congratulations, Mikasa, you finally weren't useless.
Oh, speaking of Mikasa, I loved when she was like up right next to Eren being like, "You like Annie? You like Annie more than me."
Actually, I
and
said
her eye is like filling the screen. Oh, Mikasa.
I said before, channeling Yunogasai, I retract what I said, and I'll put it here.
A woman after my own heart.
Oh,
Truly.
I did not
Who's
know
more
Yunogasai
crazy?
was a character in Attack on Titan.
Who's more crazy, Annie or Mikasa? We'll have a poll in the description. No, we won't.
No, we won't.
And another line that was brought up by Armin in this arc is
Because he's got a great memory,
a lot of the interesting lines in this season were said by Armin. So, on the first watch, I didn't like Armin. On the second watch, I'm kind of liking him because, he may be autistic,
he's okay.
but he's intelligent, okay? He's got an intellect.
Yeah, the author's not trying to
Anyways.
beat that into your fucking head over and over again.
He did repeat a lot of lines that he said because he knows that no one listens to him, so he needs to repeat it for people to actually, pay attention. But the line I was talking about was, in order to overcome a monster, you must be willing to throw aside your humanity, which is ethical and literal, which I found it
You
was
think
a
that's
bit...
ethical?
No, it was intended to be ethical.
Oh, I thought you
in
said
the
you
show.
think that's ethical. I'm like to say, who the fuck are you?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, that's what someone who believes that the ends always justify the means would say.
No, but it's regarding ethics. Like, it's on the topic of ethics. I'm not saying
Is
that
it
it's
about
ethically
ethics, though?
correct. It may be ethically incorrect, but it's still Okay, whatever.
Yes, it is an ethical principle, but it's not necessarily ethical in its intent.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we understand.
Yes,
But I'm trying.
that-
I
yes.
found it kind of hilarious because I don't know how intentional it is. I feel like it is intentional. Is that line is both ethical and like literal because they're literally not humans.
I
Like
have
Annie
a feeling
and
that's how
Eren.
it's supposed to be taken, where it's like he's showing off what he believes, like his philosophy or whatever, but it's also like almost a pseudo pun because they are genuinely throwing off their humanity to become Titans.
Or maybe it's just like a metaphor. Who knows?
Yeah.
Either
I think
way,
that's just it.
I think that like this line is supposed to be like another theme that we'll see.
I think it's like just in a roundabout way for Eren to like get his shit together. It's like, okay, I guess I'll just have to like fucking give into this like sort of like this rage I have whenever I become a Titan, just to go at it. And even though Annie is like someone he had a lot of like history with, he's like, okay, I just have to do it because she's
That'll never go wrong, will it? That can only go well all the time.
Oh, speaking of which, the animation of Eren going berserk, like his face totally contorted, and I was like, damn, that's some good animation. I love that. But also,
He literally turned into guts. He was too angry to die.
lol. Yeah, Armin
no.
said this like this line in so many words describing Erwin and his plan to sacrifice people to capture the female Titan. So he said it multiple times in multiple episodes. So I'm not. It might whatever.
I thought you skipped the
It might not
recaps.
be.
Yeah, I thought you skipped recaps. Huh?
Yeah. I think like there's all like whatever. This arc basically ends with a shonen
With
power
a twist.
Basically,
Wait, what?
it is literally just a shonen power up,
What?
This is Eren,
which
Which
is
is
such a
glowing
flat
Titan.
way to end
And
this.
Wait, that actually
arc.
means something? It wasn't. I thought it was just like a flourish or whatever, like animation.
I have no
shit.
idea. Nitai.
Because that never comes up again in the
You
anime.
have to
as far
go
as I
further
remember.
beyond.
I wouldn't know. We're only talking about season 1, Nitai.
Yeah, Natai, who the fuck are you bringing this bullshit from other seasons in here?
Listen, the glowing Titan is the main plot point with the next 5 seasons. I don't know what you're talking
Wait,
about.
what? There wasn't even a single glowing titan after that. What are you talking
Oh my
about?
god. No, oh my god. Anyway.
confused.
Also, can we I have a feeling this is going to become a plot point that I completely skipped over for very obvious reasons, because I'm not going to read an entire wall of text that appears on my screen for 2 seconds. But there's something that comes up about why they don't go underground.
You didn't read that?
No, fuck no, I didn't read that.
You watched the recap, but you don't read the actual information we have.
I'm not going to sit there and read literally a wall of text that comes up on the screen for 2 seconds. No, fuck that.
Oh my god, Alex, your priorities. You're funny.
And again, this goes to my point. Like, maybe the story is good and the composition of the anime is terrible. Like, I have to imagine that this story appears in the manga in some capacity. Otherwise, why would it be in the anime? Unless it's literally a filler to explain something about the world that the author never bothered to put in his original story. But
basically,
if you can explain it to me, I'd be more than happy to hear it.
TLDR. We're talking about the story of the miner, which basically the walls go down underground and then curve back so that you're like basically you're in a bowl of wall.
Oh, I think I missed that.
Yeah, you skipped over it too because it's a paragraph of text no one wants to fucking read.
Yeah, because it just adds to the world. It's not
essentially they're in a giant fishbowl.
Basically.
Okay.
Which is why they're in a simulation.
I mean, a simulated reality would be like a fishbowl. I mean, okay. I'm still not going to stop and read that. I feel like if this is actually important to the story long term, which I'm assuming it will be, they could have gone about explaining it better than having a giant fucking wall of text appear on your screen for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know why they had that wall of text. That was so long. Anyways, so I think that pretty much wraps up.
And then the season ends with a twist.
Yeah, what a twist. Oh my god, there's literally it's a hide a Titan. It's like a hidey hole for Titans.
Oh, honey.
He's peeking.
He's peeking through like, oh, I've been awoken. Who dares disturb my slumber? Y'all are fucked now.
If you thought you had questions about what the fuck was going on, here's another question for you. What's in the
Now
wall?
wait 4 years for an answer.
Yeah.
Oh god, even longer.
Yeah, actually longer, to be honest.
So I do have a question, since we really haven't talked about it. So something that does happen with episodes 14 onward is we get a new OP and ED. So how do we feel about this?
They're solid.
The OP was visually and musically okay.
I kind of
I like the visuals.
Okay,
yeah, the visuals are great.
I would actually agree with you about the OP. I think that the OP for the first half of the season was better than the second half.
Okay.
I think I would say yes, but not by a large margin.
The first one is just more catchy and like in your face.
I would say the way it begins is certainly more catchy.
Yeah. And also, like, you had, like, a super solid high point in the first one, and the second was, like, just, it's really good, actually, just different.
I will say, one thing I found weird about the ED in particular for the second half was, like, the whole walnut thing. Like, you see a walnut rolling down a road.
Yeah, I have no clue what's up with that walnut.
So, I kind of did a little bit of research on this, although it was, like, 2 minutes of research, so don't take my word for it. Apparently, in multiple Asian cultures, walnuts symbolize the future.
Oh.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, that makes sense.
Because they're fighting for the future.
Well, it's just generally just things happen.
Thank you for that brilliant commentary.
Well, that's what I think, that like her dropping the walnut.
And when I talk
walnut...
about future season, you're all mad about it.
I mean,
mm-hmm.
I mean, Aaron is literally too angry to die, apparently, so he'll never die. He'll kill everyone else before he dies. That'll be how Attack on Titan ends. He'll literally just kill everyone and everything, and he'll just be alone inside the walls by himself.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Waiting to die.
That's amazing. So do we have any final thoughts on season 1?
Man, I'm so happy we're done with it.
Yeah, me too.
Not gonna lie. I'm more excited for whatever comes next.
I will say, as I've said, this. I originally watched this through episode 22, so everything from here on is going to be new for me. But seeing this is mostly a rewatch for me, I can say that my opinion on Attack on Titan overall, at least the first season, has improved. So before I dropped it, and I typically don't give a score to things that I drop, I consider the drop itself to be a score of 0. If I had to rate stuff, the season 1 up to what I watched originally, I'd give it a 1 or a 2. I give it a solid 4, maybe a 4.5 now.
You're so generous. Oh my god! Don't spend all your ratings in one place.
Nope.
Honestly, I feel like the season 1 is like pretty good, but like most of the stuff that is holding it back is mostly the pacing, in my opinion. But it just, and again, I'm just excited we finally got done with it, because like future seasons are just so better in terms of their structures. Than like it's just more fun to go through.
Yeah, one big complaint I have for this season is that most of the characters aren't really developed that much. I mean, I guess that might be a problem with the story itself, because the story more focuses on, you know, the plot and the world, and not so much the characters. So that's just one thing that I would say.
I would say there's very little in terms of character development for most of the characters in season 1. You're told, all right, this is the character, this is what they do for a living, and go.
But as I've said on the rewatch, I really enjoyed catching all the small foreshadowing elements, and I really like the build up, and the animation is great. Still great for 2013. Still stands up to 2020. Honestly, still working.
I'd be shocked in that time that the animation quality went down a lot.
I wouldn't really. Every year of anime, you know, the animation steps up, so you get left behind fast, girl.
Yeah, Handshakers got left behind
You
real
say
quick.
that, but Akira still looks as good today as it did when it came out in the 80s.
Wouldn't know.
Everyone tells me though
Yeah,
that season 2 is where like the story starts to really pop off. So I went into this. I went into this, even though I was kind of forced into doing it. I went into this with the expectation that I was going to go in with an open mind, and I have. I'm willing to let it surprise me. I'm willing to forgo any like preconceived notions I have. So everything going forward, which is new for me, I will keep an open mind for, and I will be willing to be surprised by it.
I wouldn't say you pop off in season 2. I say you start getting answers in season 2.
And even then, not really.
Well, you start trying to get answers. It's a long process, Alex. It's going to be a long series.
I think season 2 works because of that, and also because, again, it just, like, it's paced much better. Like, not necessarily faster, just, you know, the way, like, you're fed dripped information and stuff, it's just, it feels better, and it's like, you know.
Yeah.
You're not wasting your time.
Well, like I said, I'm willing to be surprised by it, so hopefully it gets better. I mean, it can't get much worse, can it?
I guess not. Well, if that's everything.
Next episode, I give season 2 a 1.
Yes.
Oh no.
No, next time if I say anything negative about Attack on Titan, Natai literally just has a fucking aneurysm and dies during the recording.
Oh, wow. That's quite a lot. And on that note, thank you all out there for dropping in to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed it, because we sure enjoyed bringing it to you. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can join us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. Shoot us an email if you have any questions, or if you have ideas for topics you'd like us to talk about in the future. Links to all these things are down below in the description. I've been your host, Sho, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Happy birthday, Natai.
Thank you. What a pleasant surprise. What a pleasant gift.
I will say one thing about Attack on Titan hasn't changed for me. I still think Aaron's father is a fucking moron.
Ooh wee.
Oh my god.